Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So now let us go for write-off invoices. First of all, what do you mean by write-off invoices? Write-off invoices simply means that if you feel that the invoices cannot be covered from the customers, it means already we sold something on credit basis to the customers, and we have created invoice, and the customers promise to pay in the future. But several number of days are passed, but the customers are not willing to pay that. For example, we can say they were supposed to pay 200 days back, and still that amount is not recovered. Or for example, they were supposed to pay, for example, 6 months back, still that amount is not paid. So if you feel that you cannot recover the amount from the customers, or you feel that those invoices cannot be recovered from the customers, definitely we have to consider all those invoices as a bad debt. As what? As a bad debt. Write-off invoices simply means consider the invoices as a bad debt. In this case, several invoices at a time can be considered as a bad debt. We can make a bad debt through journal entry, as well as we can make a bad debt, for example, through the credit memo as well. But through write-off invoices, we can consider several invoices at a time as a what? As a bad debt. So please click on this one. See, this is information. First of all, you have to select the criteria. Set criteria for invoices and other charges to consider for batch write-off. How many invoices to be considered as a batch invoice? Please, you have to set the criteria. Point number one, age should be more than 180 days. It means those customers which they did not pay or they delayed their payments for more than 180 days. So those invoices should be considered as what? As a bad debt. That is one criteria. Otherwise, for example, you can make we can say, for example, change the date, or you can make it by custom. By custom simply means that you can select the date. For example, those transactions which are not paid from the January 2020 up to today. For example, today is which day? This is August 3. Those customers which they delayed their payments from the 1st of January 2020 up to today's date. So all of them should be considered as what? As a bad debt. Okay? Click on this one. So how many we have? We have 4. For example, for Abdul Latif, or Umijan, Atana, and Mariam. Or otherwise, you can change the date. For example, those customers who delayed by 180 days. This is one way of the filtering, and this is the another way of filtering, right? This is the case. Not a big issue. Now, how many customers we have outstanding, or how many customers are to be considered as a bad debt? For example, 4. One customer, Abdul Latif, how much overdue? 2,970. Next one is 3,300. Next one is 369. And the next one is, for example, this amount. So you see that this amount is a greater amount, which is payable by Mariam. And if you consider all of this as a bad debt, definitely you will suffer a huge amount of loss. Why? Because this is an extra amount. So for this purpose, you set another criteria by the name of balance due less than. So you say that, for example, so which invoices should be considered as a bad debt? Those invoices which their balance is less than 10,000, right? So please fresh it. If you fresh this one, so that balance which was for like 40,000 is removed from the list. Why this is so? Because you set another criteria. Those invoices which are payable for more than 180 days, and of course, the balance of those invoices should be less than 10,000. If it is more than 10,000, of course, do not consider it as a bad debt. Why? Because this is a huge amount. 40,000 is a huge amount. So this one should not be considered. So that is why we have set another criteria. Another criteria is, so consider those one as a bad debt, but the amount should not be more than 10,000. Transaction type, another filtering. Consider only invoices. How many invoices we have? We have 3 invoices. Consider only finance charge. We don't have finance charge. Consider only a statement charge. And consider all. If you say all of them will be shown. Otherwise, if invoices are overdue, invoice will be shown. If you select, for example, finance charge, if finance charge is overdue, so it will show the finance charge. If a statement charge are overdue, it will show the list of that one. But for the time being, let us say, for example, we want to consider all those things as a what? As a bad debt. If you change the dates and so on, then you can click on refresh. Right now, how many invoices are to be considered as a bad debt? Of course, 3 invoices are to be considered as a bad debt. Below, and of course, we have to select all of them. Write-off items. So select the write-off item. You should create an item by the name of bad debt. So select that one, right? Write off date, so please write off, select the write off date as well. Then preview and write off. Okay, click on this one. Proceed anyway, it is fine. How many invoices will be considered as a bad debt? Of course, 3 invoices. One invoice for Abdulatif, for Omid John, and this one. And this is the amount of each, which are clear there, right? Total amount is equal to how much? 6,660. So write off or cancel. If it's still you're confused, so please cancel it. If you're sure, then click on what? Write off. Writing off transactions. Okay. So that is basically done. So in this way, we have considered those invoices which we feel that we cannot recover. So we have considered that one as well as a bad debt. Otherwise, you can change the date, for example, 120 days. Remove the balance. Do we have another transaction? For example, we have a few more, right? So let us consider this one also as a bad debt. If you want to consider this one as a bad debt, again, rest of the thing is fine. So please write off this one invoice. So this was the way of considering several invoices at the time as a what? As a bad debt. This is the criteria. Age should be more than this days, or between this days and this date. Balance should be less than this one, or the transaction that we want to cancel should be belong to invoice, belong to finance charge, or belong to a statement charge.